operations. And today we're very privileged to be in Chelsea, this beautiful private art foundation funded by philanthropist and art collector Mr. Glenn Fuhrman, and for us to enjoy a conversation, which is we committed to have good conversation and to build meaningful connection for this art committee as part of the Columbia Business School Alumni Club of New York. This title of this event is Navigating the Pinnacles of Art World. I don't know if you feel yourself, as we came up with the title, I don't know if you feel you are the top of the art world as we see it.
I do not feel like I'm at the top of the art world. But I feel like I've been around the art world for a very long time, and have definitely enjoyed many aspects of the art world. And I'm really excited that you had this idea to put this together here, so I'm very appreciative of that, and it's great to have this terrific group of what I've sold out exhibition. I actually got calls from people begging me to let them in. I see you get it, and so very impressed.
Thank you. I know everybody might know your bio, but I really want to highlight there are many people with good heart and doing philanthropic work and also art, collecting art. But you really merged these two territories in a very authentic way, I think, by reading about what you've been doing. The family foundation that you established with your wife Amanda is really working on making a contemporary art accessible, but also touch upon nurturing the artistic, holistic well-being of individuals and communities in many areas, like the project probably you did before you even fund the family office. So I really want to ask, what does philanthropy mean for you?
Well, first, we've always loved giving back and just trying to make the world a better place. I remember when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I used to sit in my room, I remember the TV room, and watch the Jerry Lewis telethon. And I was I'm dating myself, but that was something that was really fun to do. And you used to be able to call, and you actually could see something on the TV, answer the phone, and you would be talking to them. And I remember giving $5 to the Jerry Lewis telethon. And it was just so exhilarating, I live obviously from Fort Computers or anything. So just the idea of giving to try to help somebody that, wasn't as fortunate as you were. I think my parents just kind of developed that in me from a very early age. And there is definitely a selfish aspect to giving successfully, because, if you do a very good job for others, you will feel really good about it. And that creates a really beautiful circle that as you hopefully have more ability to give more, you can get even more good feelings and impact more people, and then just keep growing. So it's just kind of been a philosophy that we've been pursuing for a long time.
And thank you. And you mentioned your childhood. One of the questions I intend to ask is can you take us through your earlier years, maybe some moment or inspirations that put you on this path of art collecting later on, and for navigating your ordinance?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I never really thought about art or being interested in art, but my parents definitely would take me to museums. And I do remember my parents bought some prints, some lithographs by contemporary artists. And in particular, I remember they bought a couple of prints by Alex Katz. And kind of a famous story of my family. My parents didn't have tremendous means, but they liked art and they bought some things. And at one point, my mom bought a print by Dave Hockney. Then I remember it was called Celia Smoking. Another beautiful print. And I'm making up the numbers, but I'm guessing it was around $250. And a few days after buying it, my dad, she brought it home and showed my dad. I don't think my dad was super excited about it. And I guess whatever the price was, it was $250,000 still real money. And then he found out that they made a poster of Celia Smoking at $20. and we ended up returning the France. So, yeah, it's very kind of learn things. But I mean, even just being aware of that experience, and we do have Alice Cat's prints that we still have. We've never sold any of his works, and so one of the earliest artists I was interested in was Alice Katz, just because I grew up with the lithographs. So I mean, I had it as an early part of life growing up. We went to museums for sure, and then when I went to the Wharton Business School as an undergrad, I wanted to take something outside of statistics, accounting, and finance, and I signed up for art history for a semester freshman year. And then from there, was really off to the races because I just fell in love with the whole idea of art and art history at that point. And I ended up graduating from Wharton undergrad as a finance major, having taken only 3 finance classes and 11 art history. That's nobody has ever graduated from Wharton undergrad with that an educational balance sheet, but I kind of pulled it off.
So with this very unique educational balance sheet, have you ever ventured into curating yourself?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like I've curated my art collection since I started collecting. So definitely, I've never used an advisor, although I believe in advisors, and I think advisors are awesome. I'm looking at one of the best advisors in the business. But I personally have never used an advisor, and for me, it's the fun part of doing the discovering myself and going to galleries and going to studios and also making my own mistakes. Like anything, you learn more when you make a mistake yourself than if you kind of hire somebody to make the mistake. So I've been blessed to be able to do it myself, and so I definitely feel like I've curated the collection that we've acquired.
What do you mean by mistakes?
It's a good question, and I'm thankful. I don't think I've made a lot of mistakes. I think every collector, at least at one point in their collecting experience, makes a mistake by collecting with their ears and not with their eyes. And I will admit that I have once or twice, maybe more than once, made mistakes by collecting with my ears. And what I mean by that is hearing that an artist is hot, or hearing that something is really special, or hearing that somebody else thinks it's really good, and whatever. It just biases you in a way, and I've made a couple of mistakes. But even those works that I bought, I hope I bought them because I really like them. Mm-hmm. And I often get calls from galleries that had the quote-unquote hot artist whose last work sold at auction for $1 million. This day is selling the primary work for $200, and we're only letting very few people live. We'd like you to be able to buy one. And I never do that unless I really love the work. If I really love the work, of course I'll take a look. But I'm never buying anything just because it's a great deal or it's a great value.
And you mentioned in other interviews that you always respect the structure of the art world. So you always buy work through dealers. Is that still true?
That is the case. And I've always respected the role of dealers. And I think I go to studios a lot, and I started going to studios a lot when I was very young. And in fact, I used to cold call artists and just go to their studio when I was really young. And even when I was doing that, I always knew if I saw something I liked or if I wanted to pursue something, I would always call the dealer and try to see if I could get offered something. And one of the things that I think I've been blessed with over my career is, a very famous dealer once said to me, Anthony Dauphin, and he said, "Glenn, you could only buy what you're offered." And, if you wanted to offer the best things. And the way to get offered the best things is to have real passion, to really do your homework, to kind of know what you like. But it's also really simple things. It's like, be appreciative, pay quickly, ask for a discount, but don't negotiate too aggressively. Don't keep insisting on a lower price, because like anything, if it's the person the dealer only has 3 or 4 words, so only make 3 or 4 phone calls, they're not going to call somebody to pay in the net, right? They got to call somebody who will be appreciative, will be thankful, will pay quickly, and won't give them too much of a hard time. And that's important, and I've learned that lesson not just in art collecting, but really in life, right? I mean, if you have, a last-minute question on April 15th and you've got to call your accountant, that kind of not going to call you back if you weren't appreciated and a good client and paid on time and respectful. And, I think about that all the time. So it's always good to negotiate a good deal. It's always good to kind of, want to be a good negotiator, but you don't ever want to do it in a way that makes that person on the side not want to do business with you again.
Well, and as a businessman or a successful investor and investment advisor, mainly developed into major companies now, is that sort of way of doing business as you just described, respectful and good negotiator, but not aggressive?
Yeah, look, I think, first of all, I've always been a believer in great partnerships and great partnerships to build companies, being respectful of all people in your organization from top to bottom. I've always known, the name of every doorman in every building I've ever been in, just welcoming them every morning by their first name. And, the same thing in just partnering with people in business on the other side of the table, just trying to be as good a negotiator as you can to get what you think is in your best interest, but not over-negotiate. And I think earlier in my career, sometimes I did over-negotiate. And I got good feedback by some very important colleagues of mine saying, you're a great negotiator, but sometimes maybe just leave a little bit more on the table for the other side, and everybody will have a better experience. And I took that to heart.
And the due diligence process for business and for art is different, right?
Yeah, very different. Yeah, I mean, the due diligence for art to me is just really a lot of reading and looking, but it's mainly looking, and it's really in it. I like getting to know the artist. A lot of collectors say, well, I don't want to get to know the artist, so they don't want to be biased if I really like the artist, but maybe the work isn't strong. I've never believed in that. I want to get to know the artist. I want to understand what they're all about, where they're coming from. I don't want to explain what the work means per se. And good artists will never explain to you what the work means if it even does mean something to that artist. But just being a little bit more aware of the process and learning more, and I just think reading up a lot of their influences and where they came from and how that ended up either in the canvas or in the sculpture or whatever the artwork is. I think can make you a better buyer, a better decision maker.
But do you mean that the artist or so?
Yeah, so my collection has really always been based on living artists. I've always, and in art history, when I was studying, I studied Flemish masters and Roger van der Weyden, Jan van Eyck, and Hans Memling. And so that was the work that I really loved. But you can't collect that type of work, right? So it would be a very short collecting career. To me, the beauty of collecting contemporary art is that idea of meeting the artist and experiencing the work in real time. But it's also, that work is really more about my life and more about the world that I live in. And to me, that's much more interesting. So even though I still love to look at older works, I really have always focused our collecting on living works, and even more so like new works by living artists. So even the artists that we collect, we're not really going backwards in time trying to buy early in their career works. We want to buy the works in their in the present day when we're collecting. And so the vast majority of our work in our collection was bought in a gallery show the first time that work was ever shown in a contemporary gallery.
Also, if you discover the artist we really love, you don't want to buy all the past works that build up.
Yeah, in general, we don't really do that. Now, again, we have on selective occasion done that, but by and large, it's very hard to do that, and then you're buying at auction, and it's much more expensive. It's much more complicated. You can only buy them with that often, get to go back and choose. Whereas if you're collecting a new show, there might be 15 works, and maybe you get the first pick. Then you get to see the whole show and choose the one you think is the best. That's really exciting. If you're buying something 25 years ago at auction, it says one work, and you just got to decide, and then you got to battle out with everybody else in the world who might be bidding.
Yeah, and I guess like John mentioned a little bit about this foundation. It's very different from other private foundations, probably. Which house collectors' own private collections. But this is almost like a conduit to empower not only artists, but also curators, and also for you to explore, for you to attract your artists to you, not to look for them elsewhere, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of the Flag Art Foundation was definitely inspired by collectors like Charles Saatchi, the Saatchi collection in London, which was just about showing the collection, the Rubel family collection in Florida, which only shows their collection, and the Rashofsky in Dallas, and definitely Eli Broad, who was definitely a big influence. So I say those were like the big 4 influences that I was aware of when I was starting this like Arts Foundation. But from the very beginning, I always knew I didn't want it to just be about my collection. And, on one hand, it's a lot of pressure only having your own collection there. And I knew that it wouldn't be great. Like, I love my collection, but like, it's not fresh enough continually to keep it interesting for 15 years. We've been doing this now for over 15 years. And by making it actually the opposite, very few of my works, much more about borrowed works, then you can do any show you want. And from my perspective, that's where it would become fun. So here we have all these works by Ian Masiga, and I don't own any of them. And so it's great. Like, here's the word. I get to live with all this art, quote unquote, live with all this art for a couple of months, 2-3 months, and I didn't have to buy And I got to spend time being it, and we had a big dinner. It was all these people come to see the work, and it's really a great experience. And so that is where I've gotten a lot of joy. We've had shows curated by really great curators. Shaquille O'Neal curated a fantastic exhibition and selected all these works. Again, none of them are from my collection. Chuck Close curated a great show. Lisa Dennison curated a great show. We've had a number of artists curate shows. Jim Hodges curated a beautiful show. So, it just opens up a much wider and more interesting ability to put on exhibitions when you say, actually, I don't want to be about my collection. Mm. And that's specifically why we didn't call it the Fuhrman Art Foundation, because we didn't want it to be about my foundation. So we essentially made up a word called the Flag Art Foundation, which I think is kind of forked and stuck. You're right.
I like that.
I mean, flag is just, it's the names of my family members. Oh. And so it's just gonna...
Still young.
Yeah, so it's good. It worked out well. I'm married today, so we tried it under the theme of her. I think very solid. I probably would have still married her if she was an R, but I like to make it a lot easier.
Thanks. And also on this topic about legacy building, of course, art collecting can be a very important vehicle to further your philanthropic effort. And you mentioned before, even you have a huge collection, very valuable, you don't want to have your own private foundation probably for similar reasons. But instead, maybe at some point, you can sell some of the works and use that proceed to fund philanthropic causes, which will directly or more impactfully make a contribute to make a better world. Does that still resonate with you?
Yeah, I think about this all the time, and I hope I'm far away from having to think about this too seriously. But ultimately, there are a lot of great collections that have been assembled over the last couple of decades, and there's a lot of work in private hands. And we just saw that De La Cruz's, who had a great collection, selling the whole thing at auction. And that's certainly one way to manage it. Alternatively, one of the best stories was like on the eggs, the couple of postal workers. The Vogels. So the Vogels had built up this spectacular collection of thousands of works over the course of their career. If you don't know who they are, it's one of the greatest things to Google ever. They never made more than like $50,000 a year as an employee. They were postal workers, and they built this multi-million-dollar collection. And when they died, they had no children, and they gave away their entire collection to small museums in all 50 states. They divided it up in all 50 states of America into a lot of rural communities. Some places that had never had a Carl Andre now have a Carl Andre. Places that had never had a Saul Lit now have a Saul Lit. It's really beautiful, incredibly thoughtful way to do it. And that's like at another end of the spectrum. Obviously Eli Broad, what he did, that's a totally different thing. That's start your own thing. That's 100% not what we're doing. I was talking to another collector who's in his, I think he might be almost 90s now. He might be 90. And their collection is well over $1 billion collection. It's a spectacular collection. They spent their life with art. And I don't think this is necessarily public, but their intention is to sell their entire collection. These are super wealthy people. Their children obviously need to be well taken care of. They're going to sell their entire collection and form a foundation for medical research and use all those proceeds specifically toward medical research. And their view is, we could give all the work to museums, and that would be great, but we could change the world with $1 billion plus foundation just dedicated to medical research. And that didn't really resonate to me. I'm on the board of MoMA, I'm on the board of the Tate, and I've been involved in museum for a long time. And, I love both museums, and I would certainly give some works to a museum, but any museum that you give work to, it's going to mostly end up in the basement. So if it's, it will come out once every 5 years and it'll get a little light, but it's going to mostly go in the basement. And all the artists in my collection are already represented at MoMA. They're already represented in the Tate, mostly, some maybe not, and the majority of them are. And so think about it this way, and again, this is just theoretical, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but if I did sell my collection, or much of my collection, it would be bought by people like me and people like you who would really get that work, put in their living room, put in their office, put in their children's bedroom, and really live with it and enjoy it, and that work, and then have another whole life for something to enjoy. And if I can take all those proceeds and create a foundation to do something like a medical research tank or something that would really benefit society, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You kind of got this big pot of money for a foundation for charitable purposes. You've got all the art still out there for people's enjoyment. Maybe they'll give it to a museum or in a smaller group. Please sit down, or another way. And yes, okay, maybe you'll cherry pick the best pieces or a handful of best pieces to give to MoMA or the Tate or to the museum. But that seems to me to be kind of a working way to do it. But again, I haven't made an official decision and still thinking through a lot of it.
Thank you. And you are on the board of Google, and do you think that's...
I'm not going to give it to Larry. That was my donation.
Yes, and do you think that's this kind of corporate dominant structure for larger galleries can be unknown for the future, or is more like a legacy finding because in particular there's no traditional family succession, there's no children?
Well, the Gugosian board, as it's currently set up, doesn't have a tremendous amount of, business control. But I think that it was really insightful for Larry to do this because he has a group of some of the most successful and impressive business people, art leaders, art collectors, sitting around the table a few times a year, giving advice and thoughts on how to grow the business more successfully. And I think every company should do that, let alone every art gallery, right? Why wouldn't we want to do that? So, you sit around the table with Sofia Coppola and with Delphi Ardo from LVMH and, Tom Hill from Blackstone or other collectors and and Jenny Saville representing an artist perspective. And we just sit around a table and discuss the business and hear about what the initiatives are and what we think of them and how we can be helpful and if their introduction many of us can make to help the business. Pretty thoughtful, and it doesn't really cost that much, for the gallery to do that. So I think it's a brilliant idea, and I would encourage all galleries to do that if they have the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yes, this sounds kind of like an advisory board.
Yeah, it is essentially an advisory. I think it's actually officially called an advisory board.
Nice. So for yourself, you will mention joy from arts, related activities. Have you think of what's joy for you? What's the definition of joy or life as of now, both in life, work, art related?
Well, I've always gotten a lot of joy from people, and in particular my family. And so when I have 3 children, and that's a source of a lot of joy. It's also a source of a lot of frustration. But ultimately, it's a source of a lot of joy. And, for me, my parents are still alive, thankfully, and my sister and I are extremely close, and I'm very close with her children. And so I'm very fortunate in that I get to be surrounded by all these amazing people that I've spent my entire life with that I love so dearly. And I would like to continue that with my new family. So I'm very blessed in that regard. And so ultimately, that's my most important focus and source of joy. I do love doing things with other people and the different philanthropic things that we do that allow us to have interaction with people and see how we're helping them or influencing them. ultimately how they're helping me and influencing me in return. I guess it's a two-way street. So those are all things that we do. And building a business is also a great source of joy. I love that. I've it's been an entrepreneur in a number of different ways. It's starting small businesses and mentoring young people and building a team and partnering with others. And growing a business is also super rewarding, and so I'm definitely still getting a lot of joy from that.
Nice. Do you make virtual and very small partners?
Well, Virtue is the name of my family office, and then the new business I'm building called True Arrow Partners.
Oh, True Arrow Partners. I thought the True Arrow Partners is like longer than, but it's not.
True Arrow Partners is another investment firm that we usually for the last, call it 3.5 years.
Oh, so it's still a baby, but you guys did a lot of investment.
Really bad. It's still a baby, but we're very happy.
And you invest a lot in technology companies and with like investing in families from around the world.
Right. We're focused on technology and real estate, and basically we invest our own capital and the money for other families from all over the world.
And since you substantially investing technology companies, you must have a deep understanding of how the digital transformation impact and potential to share something about how that is impacting art collecting with all the digital platforms and new art forms.
Yeah, I mean, I never really got into the NFT digital art work. And I think it still remains to be seen, where that goes. I think a little bit of maybe one exception is people who I think has had a transcended the basic NFT idea to making more sculptural objects and using digital technology to make sculptural objects and sculptural works. But again, I think we'll still see where that goes. I do believe that collectors and people still appreciate the hand of the artist and the artist's direct involvement. We'll see what AI does to that, and if people will want to collect a painting made by a computer, when you just make a painting of a man on a diving board with a woman swimming in the pool with a mountain background as a staircase, and you choose that out. I don't know. I think I would not have a lot of interest in that. Certainly not in any kind of way that you feel that it's precious, right? But the one thing about a painting or a sculpture that's really made by the artist is that there's something precious about it. There's only one of these paintings, but when you just type to a command and get an image, it just makes the idea limitless. And so I think that makes it harder to be collected.
Yeah. I was more thinking about the company investor Masterworks. So are they leveraging some of the technology like back-end infrastructure?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think for centuries, wealthy people in society have been able to build a lot of wealth owning painting. And that's been going on since the Renaissance and way before. And so this idea, if you just think about the wealth creation for Eli Broad or Steve Cohen or others and how much money they've made in art, it's a lot. It's a huge number. But they already were wealthy, right? You have to be wealthy to be, quote unquote, in game. And I think companies like Masterworks are trying to allow regular people to participate in these long-term appreciation for great art. And so instead of having $35 million to buy a Basquiat, you can have $10,000 in your 401k plan and buy a small piece of that Basquiat, so that when it gets sold for $50 million in 5 years, your $10,000 is now worth $17,000, and you get that return back. So I do think that's a worthwhile endeavor. They're using technology to do that, and allowing anybody that wants to participate to buy a share of a painting instead of buying a painting.
Thank you. Do you think the joy that you described, like from working for your family, is similar to the concept of personal fulfillment? Because you mentioned both words when you described flat.
Yeah, I mean, personal fulfillment, that's kind of a little bit more deeper kind. You're not saying. I think personal fulfillment comes much more from the person. It's just something that, I know a lot of people that will never be personally fulfilled. It's never like that idea. Whereas I feel I've been personally fulfilled for a very long time.
Since what?
Doesn't mean I'm at the end of the game. It's like I wake up with a smile every day. I can't wait to get out of bed. I love my life. I love what I'm doing. I love my family. Doesn't mean I don't have trials and tribulations. I got plenty of them. But in general, I just am blessed with a positive disposition, and I'm, always the glass half full type person. And I didn't think I was blessed with that. I don't think it was something that I was trained for or taught myself how to do. But I think having a sense of gratitude is definitely something that I've had for a very long time, and I think that centers me. And I think that is a key concept that for anyone, we focus on gratitude and how blessed you are. It propels you in a lot of these other directions that we're talking about. After we had our children, there's this when you have kids, you have this kind of 2-year window where you don't have to know if your kids are going to be on the spectrum for sure until they're 2 or the best 2 that you usually can tell. And, one day one of our kids was walking on their tiptoes, like, oh my God, that's like an indicator of autism. And you never know. It's like you're a record living on some of these things. You don't come there. Anyway, that our kids turned 2, 2.5, and we wanted to support autistic charities because we felt we were blessed that our kids were in between, and we wanted to ask you to didn't pass that 2-year mark this way. So I don't know, maybe that's a silly example. Those types of things I think about in my own life and where I've kind of had bumps in the road, and to some extent, some out of that influence is thoughtful attitude.
That's very beautiful. It's not silly at all. And we want to be gentle to our speaker as well, even though we want to have authentic conversations. And one of the questions I was, maybe you already expand, challenges is really guiding us for personal growth and professional growth. But can you share, to the extent that you feel comfortable, some of the most significant challenges you face professionally and in your philanthropic endeavor, and what kind of awakening you experience, or even just a strategy and mindset that you found most effective in overcoming them?
Wow. I would say, again, for my entire adult life, I kind of had this real appreciation for failure and a real focus that you've got to embrace failure. And failure is what leads to success, right? So if you think about a 13-year-old who won a gold medal in gymnastics, and they're standing on the podium with the American flag and has flag to play when they're 13. Probably the pinnacle of their life, right? It's almost all downhill. They're not going to learn that much from that experience, okay? But the runner came in 4th place in the quarter mile, and 4th place because they were behind third place finisher by 0.6 seconds, and so they didn't get on the podium at all. They're probably going to learn more from coming in 4th than the person who won the gold medal at standing on the top of the podium. And anytime I fail at something, I'm always like, how can I learn? I don't want to fail again, but I'm going to get right back up and try again. And what can I learn to try to do it differently so that I don't fail? And that's something I talk to my kids about all the time. I don't know that they necessarily understand or process it the same way. But you've got to force yourself to keep going out there. If you don't try, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like if you're afraid of failing because so you never try things, it's a miserable life. Like you got to keep trying, keep going out there, keep being a participant. Because if you don't try, you can never win. And if you're so afraid of failing, you'll never win. And I just always want to be going out there, and if I fail, dust myself off. What can I learn? And go back and do it again. And I've kind of been like that for a very long time. So I have different failures in all different ways, in lots and lots of ways. I'm blessed. I haven't had any catastrophic failures. And, most successful people that have even had catastrophic failure, you wouldn't even know it because they were able to get through them I was talking to another business person, one of those incredibly successful businessman I have so much respect for, and he was saying one of his true beliefs in why he has been so successful is because he's always felt lucky.
Oh.
And it really resonated with me because I've always felt lucky. I've always felt that things were going to work out in my favor. And he said because he always felt lucky, he always was willing to take a chance because he knew that the odds were in his favor, it was going to work out. And so if he tried something and it failed, he was quickly able to brush it off and say, well, okay, most of the time I win, most of the time I get lucky, so I'll do it again. And I read an article that people who think they're lucky or people who think they're blessed are more successful because they will try more. They won't get put off by their loss, and then they'll keep going and be in position to the win. And just as an aside, another thing this man told me in this conversation, after he told me how he has been so lucky his whole life, he told me that his mother died when he was 14. And so I wait, hold on a second, I don't understand this. You're telling me your whole life you've been so lucky, and then now you tell me your mother died at 14. And he said, I understand that sounds crazy, and of course it was devastating to me when my mother died at 14. But it did change my outlook, and still felt lucky, and maybe he was able to get through that horrific experience even better because of that view. So I don't know, I think about that anecdote so often because he's on TV a lot. I see him on TV, and every time I see him, I think of that anecdote. But it's an amazing thing.
Thank you. I find some of the artists, or most of the great artists, are very courageous. You cultivate relationships with some contemporary artists. Many contemporary artists throughout their career do get inspired by their story. A different kind of courageous, a different kind of figure, because it's really up to their definition. It's not like in business, in numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look around, I know a lot of people here know a lot of artists, and it's just, I was thinking about this today, it's just an amazing breadth of experience. And I used to, every single time that I was single for a long time, but I didn't get married until I was very late, much later than most people, I would just go to visit an artist, and I would just go and hang out at their studio. And some of those artists are now famous, and many of those artists are not, but I wouldn't change those experiences. I would just hang out, we'd have a great time, I would see them working, sometimes have a drink, sometimes just talk about what's going on in the world, talk about life, just go out and have fun. I mean, it's really amazing. So that's kind of, my life has been a life of art and life with art. At the same time, it's been a business life and during the day and my work career. So I've kind of had this really unique experience where I've hung out with Chip Hodges at his studio, and then hung out with Joe Ando, I used to go to the studio all the time. Delia Brown is another artist I hang with all the time. We're very close friends, still are friends. But then I would go to Rome to see Cy Twombly, that was a totally different experience. And go hang out with Bryce Martin and Ed Ruscha, just this whole spectrum of artists I was able to spend time with and have these magical moments with. And it's not that they've always weren't better because they were more successful at being this artist. They were equally good, and sometimes I had more fun with artists that maybe you don't even know of today. It was just part of growing up, and especially another beautiful thing about being in New York. There are just so many artists here in New York. If I lived in Buffalo or Cleveland, I wouldn't have the same opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. In the looking forward, what do you think of the role of art in general will change with if the society change and the global challenge and things that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I always think art will be here. I mean, art will win this, right? I mean, art in a tough time is an opportunity for even better art. So I think artists are important because they look at things from a different perspective. Again, for me in my life, it's been a great balance because, my day job has always been dealing with numbers and dealing with money and people who are very focused on money, very focused on numbers, and artists are not focused on numbers and not focused on money. And so it's really great balance. But I think artists just see things differently, approach things differently, and I think there's a lot of room for artists to save the world.
Wow.
And to keep
that's a big thing.
Please do it. yes, prompting thought, helping us all keep thinking through how to get to the tough side.
Yeah, I think, like by talking to you, I think say the word something deeper, like about fulfillment, about collective fulfillment. It's not just fix the problems or how we see the problem, how we define it. What is
Maybe just maybe when you're like you hear like I was walking around the gallery before coming here, turning, just walking into a great show, or it's a great release. And it's not even just visual art. I'm a producer of the Broadway revival of Tommy. And, I spent 2 hours to the theater going to the show Tommy, and it's just so alive, right? It's the songs of the Who, if you know them. It's a great story. And at the end of the first act and at the end of the second act, they end with these great songs, and the whole cast singing. It's a giant cast, 30+ actors in the cast. And everybody in the audience is up on their feet singing along. It's just like this joyous experience. And like, that's 2 hours. And what a great, no matter what's going on in the world, for those 2 hours, everybody can just having a great time. And that's art. And that's what art can do.
Yeah. Did you mention that you're the producer?
I'm one of the producers. I'm not the producer.
What does that mean?
It means predominantly that I need mustard. I did not have any costume. No script editing.
As that's very good for different media, or that art doesn't have to be so exclusive. It has to be on the white wall or private foundation. Another question I was thinking is, what's your goal professionally as your investment career, like in the numbers and in the art, and how do they maybe complement or influence each other?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have specific goals. It's weird. I never had specific goals. Like I've always had more small goals and big goals. I've had, and I've always set goals that are achievable. Like I've never been one of those and set these kind of crazy goals that opposed stuff. Because I like victories. Like I would set a goal that I could achieve, and then I'd achieve it, and then I'd set another goal, and I achieve, and I set another goal. So I want to just keep enjoying my life, building a good business, staying active in the art world. I'm less inquisitive in the art world right now. I'm less focused on making more money in my business life. I mean, I want to be successful. I want to make more money, and just like that's a business do with it, bro. But I'm not wanting to. I know a lot of people that like all they do is want to make more money, and these are people that are like so fucking rich up here. It's like, all they want to do is make more money, and I've had this epiphany, and I just woke up like, I'm not about making more money. Like I'm still blessed. I've got more than they could ever have, and I'm not even inventing the same. I have enough, and like that was said by Barry James Mann, and that really resonated with me. But I have enough. I'm not going to not try to make more because I'll work to account. I'm sure I hopefully will continue to make more, but my life doesn't even about making more money. I don't care. I want to build a new business. I want to raise a new family. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to be around good people. And frankly, I'm more focused on giving away my money and seeing how I can manage that. And if I do make more money, which would be great, it'll just go to be in the bucket to give away. That's great.
It's very beautiful and powerful. You mentioned that in history, moment, do you remember when that realization came, or this?
It kind of say it came within the past few years.
COVID?
After COVID, maybe it was even more recently. I mean, I just.
You left working for Michael Liddell.
Yeah.
That's recent.
I retired from my position at Alumni in the end of 2019, really right in sync with COVID. I've been doing something else now for 5 years. But yeah, no, I'd say it's within the past year that kind of come to this real realization.
Do you remember what is the?
I think it's like looking and saying Elon Musk worth because a little while ago Elon Musk was worth like $250 billion, and he said he wasn't gonna do artificial intelligence inside of Tesla unless they get another $50 billion in additional equity or something like that. And I'm not saying that was the reason, but just that in sync with a lot of other things of really rich people just continually getting richer and richer. And I don't know, just like it didn't, I don't know, just didn't, it's just not something I'm really focused on.
Yeah, totally. And what is the current philanthropic effort that excites you, if you and plans will already have?
I mean, we do this teaching prize, which I'm really excited about. So it's called the Flag Award for Teaching Excellence. And we give cash awards to public school teachers in New York, all 5 boroughs of New York City. And we're working on some things to expand that prize even more. So I'd say that's something that I'm really excited about. We're talking to another museum about doing a similar spotlight series to what we do here. And I'm excited about that. I like the idea of expanding flags with friendship rapidly. If we can partner with it, we're partnering with museum in another location. If we can do some more things broadly, expand that as a branch. But yeah, I mean, but more just continue doing what we're doing and just growing all the wins. I have an amazing team. I mean, the team that runs Flag, which I'm looking at, they do so much hard work. Madeline, Nancy, Caroline, and John. It's amazing. And everything I do is because I had a great team. I mean, we were always known as having great employees and growing with people. And True Hour has amazing people, and it's only and that's what makes it fun. We're in the office every day because we wanted it. We really wanted to each other. We have a firm-wide video call every single day, no matter where you are. So everybody's together talking for an hour, and that's a good sign that people want to be there, want to come to work.
Nice. And I just, since you are talking about the importance of people, we're seeing this as your the current investment partnership. You don't want to become an institutional scale, right? You just want to keep it.
Right now, we're very happy just working with families. Families are really interesting. There are great families all over the world in all different businesses. Their expertise can help us in different investing capacities, which is nice. There's not a lot of intermediaries in between us and them, which is very good. And once you get to the institution, you're dealing with people, it's not their money, therefore bureaucratic. They could leave to take another job, and then you have to start all over again from a relationship perspective. They also are just coming from a very different perspective of risk reward, different level of taxation that they care about. So it's more interesting to be in the family office below.
Yes, and very efficient in making decisions.
Yes.
What do you have a personal philosophy that guides your decision making and actions?
Just do the work and make sure you're making an informed decision.
And feel lucky.
Always feel to feel lucky. Always couldn't get lucky.
And then last step, can you see what time is it? Last question from me is what kind of advice you can give or your younger self? I guess I already know that, so because you explain a lot, but also your advice to people who want to support artists and get more engaged with art.
Yeah, I mean, my advice is always the same, which is just spend as much time as you can going to galleries, going to museums, looking at art. Art fairs are great places to see a ton of art. I always love seeing art that I hate, because the more you see art that you don't like, fast will recognize the art that you do like, and it is. I get so excited when I hate most of this art, which is great. Because, and I also love when other people love work that I don't like, because it's like, great, less competition. You guys provide that. And so I think see a lot. I think come to places like Flag. This is such a unique experience because we have these openings. Artists are always at all the openings. You can come and meet contemporary artists, talk to them very intimately, and those types of opportunities exist at a lot of other places as well. So the more you can look, the more you can see, the more you can learn, the more you can talk to people in the art community, and especially artists themselves. The more engaging you'll find it, the more fun you'll have, and the more you'll learn. And it doesn't have to be about buying. I know a lot of really great people that love the art world and don't buy anything. It doesn't have to be a transactional experience. You can just come and look and talk and learn and enjoy, and that's fabulous.
And also the role of one collector, in addition to acquiring art, what do you think their responsibility can be in supporting that ecosystem?
I think everybody should divide that for themselves. I think I think the responsibility is more not to do any harm. I think you should just act in a way that doesn't do harm. Don't buy something and sell it at auction right away and really harm to the artist. But in general, I don't preach responsibility. Everybody can make their own decisions.
Thank you. So we're open for the audience to ask questions. We don't have a wireless suicide network.
What aspects of entrepreneurship do you bring to your art collecting, and what do you purposely avoid letting bleed into your art collecting from your entrepreneurship?
Yeah, the question is about entrepreneurship in art collecting. And I think when you think creatively, when you think like an entrepreneur, it invades everything. So, early in my career, if I would want to buy a work by an artist, and like, for example, early in my career, Larry Guzzi wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't sell me anything. He didn't want to talk to me because he felt I was too close to Anthony Dauphin and that I was like a traitor, that if he told me anything, would get back to Anthony. And obviously that has changed dramatically. Now Larry and I are very good friends. So there might have been an artist that was doing a show, Larry, that I knew I couldn't buy, but I would figure out that artist was having a show in Brussels, and I would track down the dealer in Brussels and buy a work from that dealer in Brussels. So I think being an entrepreneur is just when you don't take no for an answer, or when you think that there's something you want, it's not a straight line. It may be around a different direction. Just as an example, as I was saying, we're working with a new museum to maybe partner with Flag on a new series in this museum. That was completely our idea. And we just said, I get solicitations from museums all the time for different things. And like, none of that stuff was interesting, but like, you want to do something together, why don't we do something like this? And they were like, wow, that would be amazing. And now they're excited about it, but it was really something that we designed and we came up with the idea. So it's really another example of just being creative, pursuing something that you want to do. And that's like the teaching award that I said before. We've had these different ideas of philanthropy that we want to do and take full control of that ourselves. Many years ago, just as an example of that, many years ago when Google came to New York City, they bought this giant building in Chelsea. And there was a big article in the New York Times that said, as a thank you to the neighborhood, Google is giving free Wi-Fi to the community around their new campus in Chelsea. And I read this in the New York Times and they said how much it cost Google to do that with very little scheme food. And I was talking at the time and I said, if there's any neighborhood in the world that doesn't need free Wi-Fi, it's the neighborhood around the Google. Right. And so at that time, we said, well, if that number that they put in the Times is correct, we could afford to do that in a much more interesting community. And we called the mayor's office. I sent just a blank, a random email to the office of Mayor Bloomberg at the time, and I said, if you will partner with us on this, we would like to wire Harlem for free Wi-Fi. This was a long time ago when nobody had free Wi-Fi. And God bless Mayor Bloomberg, he wrote right back. He said, no, I only have like 6 months left in office, but like, let's do this. And in 6 months, we wired up the 95 square blocks of Harlem. It could not have been done without the city because you needed their helping in all the insurance and getting the buildings to let you put the attendants off the building and all that stuff. So it was a public-private partnership between our foundation and the mayor's fund, which is a charity book from the mayor's office. They put in exactly $0. We put in all the money, but they helped us coordinate and it got done. And we wired up 95 square blocks of Harlem for free Wi-Fi. So that's an entrepreneurial thing that we're glad to happen. Mayor de Blasio came in and literally we never heard anything from him. Like literally, the guy, it was amazing what a night and day difference it was between the Bloomberg administration and the de Blasio administration. But anyway, that was a wonderful experience. So again, that was a good entrepreneurial example of how you can do that in anything, whether it's art, philanthropy, or anything that you want to do.
Hi, Fanyu and Glenn. Great talk tonight. I agree. And if I come into the fact and work on the city government, so thank you. That is My question is, Glenn, you're very successful in the investment world and the talk world. And they talked about due diligence earlier. Looking back, are there common traits to be successful in both? For speakers on the surface, they look very different. Would it be things like the ability to connect with people or ability to spot things that other people have overlooked? Any common traits? Thank you.
Wow, that's a really good question. Look, I think when I look around in all the different areas I'm involved in, there is definitely a lot of overlap of success. This is not all of contact, but at least the people that I interact with and that I view and admire, and I see what they have, how they have been successful, whether it's business or philanthropy or art or otherwise. They're usually very smart. They're usually very empathetic, so they can really understand the other person and the other side and the other people that they're working with. They're usually good people that other people want to be around. And, they're usually good team players because it takes a team to be successful in anything. Now, having said all that, there's tons and tons of people that don't satisfy that, right? There's lots of sharks, there's lots of aggressive assholes that all they do is care about themselves and they end up being very successful. But, among the people that I admire and that I see in all those different walks of life, there is the overlap that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But, so how long have you been investing in Broadway plays? And what insight can you give to investing and how to approach it, and have you actually made money doing that?
Okay, so it's a very good question, a very fair question. So there's a few tenets in the investing world that I think are pretty much truisms, and that is if you want to invest in restaurants, in theater, or in movies, only do it if you're prepared to lose all your money. So that's a start. Now, having said that, I do have a bunch of friends that have invested in different Broadway shows. Some of them have done it very successfully economically. Usually those are people who promote other people, so they get other people to put up the money, and then they get to share, disproportionately share in rewards. But this is the first time I've ever done it. I'm doing it in partnership with a close friend who I've known for 30 years, and he's done it a bunch previously, and he just said how fun it is. And I knew, of course, the music of The Who and Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey. I had seen the movie of Tommy. I knew the fact, I did my research. It ran in a sold-out run in Chicago, this version. It was being endorsed by Pete Townsend, and he was going to really go all in to support it, which it was, all these things were facts in my research before it committed. And it just seemed, and it was a very reasonable budget compared to what it could have been. The production team did a great job of designing an affordable budget. And so with all that knowledge, I made the decision to do it. And again, with the preparation that I was probably going to lowest about all the way. Now, having said that, a lot of it has come to fruition. Pete Townsend has been incredibly supportive. He went on a late night with Jimmy Fallon. He got the whole cast on. He sang with the cast. It's got incredible reviews in almost every newspaper. And I think there's a really good chance it gets a Tony, and it could live a long life probably, and should very successfully economically. But, the jury's out. We'll see. As of right now, it's doing really well. If you want to get tickets, it's sold out many nights already. It's only been open for a week and a half, so far so good.
So do you do a break then?
Of course, they
How long has to run?
absolutely. You have the whole spreadsheet of how long it has to run and for what percentage of the house is still. And, the one thing that's also really attractive about Tommy is if it can run 7-8 months and really kind of prove itself, this is the kind of play that a celebrity would want to come in and be the star, because who wouldn't want to be Rodney Daltrey, right? So if you think about how John Mayer stepped in for Jerry Garcia and gave the Grateful Dead another 15, 20 years of success and hundreds of millions of dollars of ticket sales, some young, I don't know, Kid Leroy or somebody would potentially come and play the role as Alumni. And if something like that happens, but it's a sellout every night for however long that person's willing to do the role. And so that was another free option if it's a by far.
This is a slightly different church. I was an art history major in Wellesley at the Navigating the Business School. Sorry, guys. And I'm marketing in the Art Institute. But I noticed that you are trustee of your Chair.
Yeah.
And I noticed Jeffrey Limb's life hosting this program director, street residency and ethics. He was winning that this 30 years. So I'm wondering how your activities with non-Presbyterian tie in with another.
Sure. So the question is about my role as a trustee of Near Presbyterian Hospital, which is the #1 hospital in New York, one of the top 10 hospitals in America. And it's very simple. I think as you get older, if you can, having an involvement in a hospital is just a very smart decision. And unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. And so as you get to the later stages of that battle, you want to have as many people on your side as possible. And having access to doctors, having access to really smart people, is just a really good decision. And then at the same time, by supporting a hospital, you're giving back to the community, because ultimately these hospitals are nonprofits. They need your help to survive and run. And things like COVID, hospital lost hundreds of millions of dollars each of those years because they were not able to run properly, and they were bleeding blood, economic blood. So I love being a trustee of York Hospital, and I cherish that role, and it's definitely a core part of our philanthropic portfolio. Definitely.
I was just a little bit back to the art stuff. And this is a question around inclusion. I'll practice advising in Women of Kyle Walters, our advisor capacity.
Hold on just 1 second. This is so embarrassing. My daughter has been being nonstop, and I just got to say, if she's still emergencies. Annabelle, very okay. Yeah. That's right. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to just hold my little but what time is it?
7 minutes.
Okay, so then it'll be like 5 or 10 minutes. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. Okay, sorry. Anyway, what's the question?
Around inclusion, and I struggle with this myself. So I moved to my beloved space. I work for RSRC in LA. But I come from a middle class background. I grew up in Chelsea. I grew up in Chelsea, New York, and was around my art. And working within the art market, and then also having this background, inclusivity and transparency is a big kind of knowledge for me. And so sometimes I struggle with balance of granting and talent. Make sure artists see them, make sure that the gallows ecosystem works, but then on the other side, you sit with becoming first of the fall is this fact that big inflating time in stores. My question really is, especially in the works and values using statements here of election, towards leak status, you speak about how do you balance this here? How do you balance the two kind of like inclusivity and being we have kind of how you access for people, but then also, keeping that as the stem lines that are burning your body.
I mean, it's a very complicated question, but just in terms of balancing inclusivity, when I would just say in general why come to philanthropy as well when it comes to anything, you can only do so much, right? So I am not going to solve war and Middle East. I am not going to solve cancer. I'm not going to solve, the carbon issue in the world. But, we could just do make dents where we can and try to contribute where we can. So, we try to foster inclusivity. Flag obviously does a tremendous amount, but we only can do so much. So you can't get too beaten down by what you can't do. You focus on what you think you can do, what you are doing, and hopefully that's just a spark that ignites somebody else, and you're kind of igniting more flames through example setting and being a role model, and that's the only way you can do. So and maybe that's a failure of mine because baby deals that you should be setting bigger, grander ambitions, and you look at somebody like Malala or like these unbelievable philanthropists and people, what they are able to do and been incredible goals. Greta Thunberg, what they go after these like and I don't have it in me. And I never did. Like when I was 25, that wasn't what I wanted to go my life to. And maybe it's the same thing like why I don't want to be worth $100 billion. It's like that's just too big. I don't need that. I'd rather focus on helping Flag grow to a couple more institutions. They've expanded to LA one day. There's something more manageable than these giant grand ambitions, which I admire so much in people that take that on. But you just got to know what you have in you. And I know I don't have that in me. Maybe one more question because I got to deal with them soon.
I'm struck by what you said about the total story, the Chimajars and the Watunja, Crankfist, those stuff. And I struggle with disappointing kids about how much money as you do. But how do you keep the curiosity and gathering with your children whilst you have to the top kids? And what's their view on art? In 20 years, what are they going to say about my dad got me interested, not just because of the money, but the people I'm making it up.
Yeah, well, if the jury's out on my kid, isn't just when my kids are almost 12 and I have 3 kids, 2 9-year-old twins. But, they don't really love art right now, right? So they have a lot of art in their rooms, and they've met a lot of artists, but they don't come with me to galleries. They don't like doing that. They don't come with me to museums. They don't like doing that. They don't go to the Bothell Art Gallery. They just don't want to do that. They're not going to drag them. Now they love making art. They're really passionate about making art, and they make art, and I have their art up in the walls of my office and things like that. And I think they like art more than they're willing to admit, because if I go out and say, oh, that's them, that's funny. But anytime we have a party or there's people over, they want to show them the art in their rooms. And so there's some osmosis going on. But, we'll see how it affects them and what they want to do. And, the bigger question you're asking about just how do you properly raise kids in a world of plenty, just so much everything. Yeah, it's very hard, and you try to keep them grounded. But I think our whole generation is battling that right now because it's the first generation where the children are not going to do better than the parents. Right? My generation, everybody I know pretty much did better than their parents, but my kids' generation, many of them will not, and so it's going to be a complicated developmental process. So listen, I got to deal with this thing. I'll figure it out for anybody that wants to ask a question. Thank you.